Hi, Susan Clare here, Gourmet Quilter, and I just thought I'd share with you some fun and games that we're going to have this time. I thought we'd do a little sew along. So we're going to make some quilt blocks and we're going to do it over the next few weeks, probably 8 weeks altogether. I'm just starting it out, so it's all just getting going. So I thought we'd do a quilt as you go for the blocks as well, but more on that a bit later when we've got some blocks that we can quilt. And we're going to make 6 different blocks, and we're going to make 2 each of those blocks plus an alternate block. So this is the sort of thing that we're aiming for. So I've shown it here in reds and greens with a white background. This time of year, quite often we're thinking of making red and green things. But I got super excited when I was making the red and green idea up, and I thought, why would I just stick it red and green? So I got really carried away and thought, I might want to make a blue quilt. So I've done the design in blues as well, and then I thought, well, actually I'd like to use multicolours. So I've done one with a darker background and multicolours all over it. So I just thought I'd show you those suggestions. So the same blocks, exactly the same methods, just different fabrics basically. And so I've got block 1 is made up here, so I've made it, this is my blue block for the blue quilt, this is my multicolour with a dark background, and this is the red and green. And we need to make 2 of each, so this is my first block for block 1. And I'll just show you the fabrics though. So I haven't gone to any trouble in the sense of large quantities of fabrics. Quite often you can make quilts like this out of what you already have. So for me, that's what I'm doing. I've got some leftovers here, some short lengths or some fat quarters even. So I've got some greens here, I've got some reds here, and then I've got a nice white background. So that's for my reds and greens. That's going to be nice and cheerful. And then I've done the same thing with the blues. So I've collected up some leftovers. Some of them are not very big, they're just 2.5 inch strips, but I've based a lot of the pattern on 2.5 inch. It's not all 2.5 inch, but a lot of it is. So if you've got some strips and things, you might want to use up bits and pieces. Again, so lots of different blues and a background. This time it's a white with just a little speckle on it, just for a little bit of variety. And then for the one with the dark background, I've got, again, a whole assortment of fabrics here. Again, some are fat quarters, some are just ends of pieces. I thought with this one here I might do all the stars in different goldy colours. So I've collected a few, that one's a little ring in, sort of goldy colours for the stars so that I can do that. And then I've got some blues because I thought I might make the little chain that's formed with those squares out of the blues, and then I've got my dark background and just a few other colours and things to go in here. So I just thought I would show you what I'm doing. As I said, chances are you can make most of this out of your stash. For the main background, if you're going to use just one fabric, like mostly I am, you probably need about 3 yards, and then bits and pieces of your colours. But you could use a whole lot of different backgrounds. They wouldn't all have to be the same, but perhaps they should read to be similar fabrics from a little bit of a distance so that they all blend in together. So that's all about the fabrics. So there's a pattern on my website on GourmetQuilter.com that can be downloaded for the blocks. It'll come out each week, so you can go to the website and the pattern will be there. So I thought that would be quite good as well. So I've already cut my block, well, I've half sewn my block, the second block of block 1, so that I can show you how to put it together. So what we're making is, there's going to be 6 different blocks. Did I say all this already? We've got 6 different blocks, but we're making 2 each of them, so that there's 2 of this block here, and there's 2 of each of them. So I'll show you one, and we have to make 2, and then this other one that forms this nice chain across here is the alternate block. So we'll get to that later, so we're just going to do one block at a time. And also I said that it's a good opportunity to do some quilt as you go, and we'll get to that when we get some blocks together so that we can do some quilting and joining up and things. Other than that, the blocks, so these smaller blocks that are in here, like this block here, this is inside the frame is an 8 inch block, or 8.5 inch, but 8 inch once it's sewn in, plus the framework that brings it up to a 12.5 inch or 12 inch block. And these alternate blocks are going to be 12 inch blocks. So it just seemed to be quite nice to have that bit of spacing around the slightly smaller block. So As I mentioned before, we're largely using 2.5 inch pieces, so nothing too small, and we're going to be making some into half square triangles. So I think very achievable. Chances are you've got a lot of fabrics that you can use. If you want to join along with the sew along, it's going to be each week. It's going to be a total of 8 weeks, I think, so that people can get their blocks made each week, and there'll be a video each week, and there'll be a new download each week. So what we need to do to make this block, we need some corner squares of the background. So from the background you need to cut 12 of your 2.5 inch squares like this, and then for this other colour here, this little green square, you need to have 4 of those. They're 2.5 inch, and then you need 8 of the red. Now this is a little bit of an orangey red, but I thought it was quite nice. It gives a little bit of variety. So I'm making this block out of slightly different colours. Although the reds and the greens are in the same place, you could swap them around. You wouldn't have to put them in the same place. And so I'll just show you what I'm doing. I've got my squares here. So I've got my red and I've got my background. And on the back of the background square, I've drawn my line because we're going to make half square triangles. Now we could have cut slightly bigger squares, but then we couldn't use our 2.5 inch strips, and I thought that that was fun to do. So I've actually already marked with a pencil a diagonal line across the back, and then another one 1/2 inch away, and then if you sew both of those lines, you can cut that off and you can save those bits, because later if you iron those open, they can be trimmed into a little half square triangle to be used in another delicious project. So I often do that with my half squares when I want them to be this sort of size. So I've got a couple of these ready to go, so we'll get started. So I'm just going to sew on that diagonal line from point to point, and we can chain piece these. So normally I would have the whole block's worth here, but I've already done half the block. And then I would come back, and they can still be in that chain. I'll put that through as well. And then I'm going to sew on that line that's 1/2 inch away as well. I'm just going to snip those apart. So they're all nicely stitched. Now what we need to do is trim that away. So we want to cut between the two lines. So it should be 1/4 inch away from your seam line. Because they're 1/2 inch apart, it's basically halfway between the two sewn lines. And do that on each of those. They can go away for the future delicious project. And then I'm just going to bring the iron across. And I'm just pressing these, so I'm pressing the seam towards the darker colour. I must have talked too long, the iron's gone cold. But something like this is fun. It's a little bit like a sampler because we've got several different blocks to make. So now we've made all our half square triangles. I've already, as I said, started joining some up, but we need to set things out so that we know how the whole block is going together. So I usually lay the whole block out, and then I can join everything together. And I'm going the wrong way. What have I done here? It's up there, and that goes up there, and that goes there. We'll get there. So now you can see that the star points are coming out, and we've got these little green squares in there. So then I like to join everything up into rows. So it's just a matter of joining with a regular 1/4 inch seam allowance. And I'll join them in pairs first. And we want the fabrics right sides together. So sew-alongs are always fun. There's other people making the same things. It's kind of nice to do it with a friend if you've got one, but if you haven't, then I'll just need to be your friend and we'll just make it together online. And we just need to join these up. So this one was here, so there's another one to go to make the row here. And then we can join, so now I'm going to join those two pairs together and then we'll have the rows. So I'll go ahead and join those and show you how I press the seams when I've done that. So I've gone ahead and I've joined up those two rows. So when I press them, I like to press all the seams going one way on one row and all the seams going the other on the next row, so that we can join the rows and the seams will nestle nicely. So this one, all these seams need to go this way. And rather than become a total contortionist to do the next one, because we want the seams to go that way, I simply turn every second row round and I still iron it the same way. And then I have to remember to turn it back again. So you can see that block's coming together nicely. So now I just need to join up those two rows and press it, and then we can pop the frame on. So I'll go ahead and get the block joined up and then show you the frame. So I've gone ahead and I've joined the block up. So I pressed the seams alternate, as I said, so that we can nestle them, and then I've pressed all the seams one way for the block. And then now we need to pop some sides on. So we've already cut these the right size, and then once they're on and pressed, I need to put the top and bottom on. So I'll go ahead and start sewing these. Nothing really hard about this. It's a fairly quick block to make, this one. As I said, you need to make 2 of each block. They should finish at 8.5 inches, and then once we pop this frame on, it'll be a 12.5 inch measuring. So I'm on the last side of the frame. It's starting to look pretty good. So I'll give that a quick press now. So when I put the shorter sides on, I've pressed the seams out into the frame, and I'll do the same with this one here. You can have a lot of fun with different colours when you're doing blocks like this. You can completely change colour schemes, backgrounds. You can do half a block one colour and half another colour, and oh, so much fun to be had. I'm using all the fabrics I've got actually are batiks. If you know me, you know that I love the batik fabrics. I don't only use batiks, but I particularly like these ones. These are all left over from other projects that I've done. I use primarily the Hoffman batiks. So what better thing could you do than use up all those delicious leftovers in the fabrics that you like so much? And as I said, I'm sure you have quite a few of them in your stash. So what we've got here now is a second block of block 1. So we've got 2 going there, and I think that's kind of fun to make them in slightly different colours. However, if you have all the same colours, that's fine as well. It's quite nice to have a little bit of variety going on. So that was block 1 of the Sew Along for 2021. It's going to go for 8 weeks. It's on the website if you want to download the pattern on GourmetQuilter.com. What more can I tell you? I will see you next week with block 2.